Okay, folks, we are live. Let me just get Instagram on here. I got YouTube and Facebook rolling. Let me just get Instagram going. Excellent. Okay, so Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook live on all three. Thank you to the Doberman Gerald, the Euro Doberman stud guy. He put me onto the StreamYard. So in the past, I used to only pick one, and I would live stream on just Instagram or YouTube. But now I can live stream on all three. So we'll just let some folks jump on here. Hello, hello. Hopefully this is listed, or sorry, I should say this is public. Now, the live stream is entitled Haz is Looking for Trouble, because I am. And I'll explain why in a second. So fundamentally, evening. Hello, hello, everybody. I am in the off season in dog sport. And that means that I don't have to focus a lot on dog sport. I mean, I still always do it. But, there's other things that I do. And I would like to now take on some interesting cases, right? Every dog and every training opportunity, it's like a journey. Some journeys are short, some journeys are boring, and some journeys are super dangerous and super interesting. Some journeys, maybe aren't so fun. But every dog is like that. And, I've been following, the dog sport path for a while now. And now that we're in the off season, we're fully into winter, it's time for me to switch gears. And I'm looking forward to taking on some behavior cases, some interesting dogs, some interesting dogs to train, to rehab, so on and so forth. And believe it or not, of course, trouble never finds you when you're looking for it. Normally, at least there's always at least one dog that comes into the facility that's interesting. You know what I mean? Oh, this is different. This is really challenging, or this is very different. But lately, I don't know. I mean, I know my trainers are kind of probably kicking me under the table, so to speak, because they're like, man, what do you don't jinx us, right? Because we've got all these relatively easy dogs in, nothing particularly interesting or exciting. And for me now, I'm like, man, I'm ready for something interesting. I'm ready for a challenge. I'm ready for something different. It's been a minute since I've done a serious behavior case. I'm ready for it. It's been a long time, as in, I think well over a year now since I personally did a behavior case from start to finish. And those are super rewarding in a different way than sport dogs, and super interesting, but it's got to be an interesting dog. It can't be just kind of like a run of the mill. Look, after you've been to the mall so many times, it's not super exciting to go to the mall anymore. So for me, I'm looking for something interesting. So I got my eye out. I got my feelers out. I'm waiting for something cool to kind of come across my radar, and I'll snatch it up. Even a really fearful dog. It's been a while since I've done one of those personally. We do them all the time. But again, it's funny. I tell the guys, they'll be like, oh, we think we have one for you. And they'll bring it out, and they'll be like, yeah, it's a little fearful, but it's not fearful, that, just that quivering puddle of goo that can't do anything. That's the kind of fearful I'm looking for. So with all that being said, I'm looking for trouble. I am having a fantastic day. Looking for another mace? No, I'm not looking for another mace, because I've been there so many times with the working dogs. You get this crazy working dog in, and he's trying to eat everybody, and he's out of control, and you get him under control. I mean, I've done that so many times. I've done them all so many times, but I do the working dogs all the time. I coach a lot of people with the working dogs, so I'm used to getting in these, maybe not mace level, but these dogs that are out of control, and then you get them under control, and it's kind of whatever, I'm not good. I'll for sure help somebody that has one, but it's not something I'm specifically looking for myself. I would also like to raise a I've been doing a lot of herd, like German Shepherds, obviously, puppies lately. I've been thinking, I might want to do an off-breed puppy. It's been a while. The last puppy that I raised that was an off-breed was a Preza. And when I say raise, I mean like I had the puppy in my house. I raised the dog. I trained the dog, all the way until he was a young adult. The last one that I had was a Preza, my black Preza beast, and that was the last one that I personally had. And I raised him and trained him all the way up until I sold him when he was like 2 years of age or something like that. I'd like to do another one, something really interesting. Again, an interesting off breed. So, that would be fun. Yeah, I've worked with Basenjis. Lori Fennel says, I have 3, a Staffy, a Canna Corso, a Husky, and a Mal. I dare you. I've done all of those. You dare me to do what? You know what I mean? The other thing too is, so when we take on clients, right? When we take on clients, I always look at this. Okay, so there's behavioral issues in which if we change some things and if we put some good training on the dogs, there's going to be a good outcome. And then there's untenable behavior, right? There's untenable. So let's talk about people you can help versus people you can't as a trainer. Untenable behavioral issues is like someone that's got like 4 dogs and, they're all out of control and the lifestyle that they live is not conducive to keeping 4 dogs. And, they've got like all like, and believe me, I've actually seen this. It's like, I got 2 bullies and a Dogo Argentino and a Rottweiler, and 3 of them are males and one of them is a female. Right. And it's like, and yeah, we live in a, 3-bedroom townhouse and we got 2 kids and they're fighting now. Surprise, surprise. Right. And, because the Dogo Argentino, now he's like 2 years old and now he's fighting with the other males. And now the other males are all fighting with each other. And, we've already had to take 2 of the dogs to the hospital. And for me, untenable. It's like the amount of work that you're going to have to do and the amount of attention that you're going to have to pay with the lifestyle that you're leading, the house that you live in, and the type of dogs that you have. That would be an example of an untenable situation. The effort isn't worth the outcome, and the outcome is probably not going to be good because the amount of work you're going to have to put in and maintenance with that type of situation just doesn't even make any kind of sense, right? And then you have stuff where it's very tenable. It's like, yeah, we've got this I don't know, a Canny Corso, and he's resource guarding and he's reactive on walks, or we've got this Central Asian Shepherd, and we can't let anybody in the house, and he's crazy on walks. We can't even walk him outside because he pulls us into the street, so on and so forth. Like, these are like interesting, they're tenable, there's going to be a good outcome if the people put in some of the work. But then of course there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of people that they've put themselves, I don't know whether they're hoarders or what, but they put themselves into these untenable situations with like multi-dog households, poor breed selection, poor sex selection, in the sense that they've got like all these like intact males and then 1 female, and and then they got like multiple kids on top of that. It's just like untenable. It just doesn't make any sense, right? So yeah. And as a trainer, you have to know, you have to be able to say, this situation, it's the outcome here, it's the effort isn't going to be worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak, right? Whereas it's like, yeah, this situation, if we put in the work and you put in the work, we're going to have a fantastic outcome. Flag America says, how many training sessions a day? Oh, what happened here? How many training sessions a day should I do when doing off-leash obedience course? I would say 2. 2 would be good. Landon Jennings says, can I answer your question? What do you mean? What's your question, Landon? Did I miss it? Let me go. I'll scroll up and I'll look for your question. It better be a good one. To boldly go where no one has gone before. Exactly. Hmm. Perhaps an off-leash trained Kangal or Central Asian Shepherd. I could do it. Wouldn't be a problem. That would be pretty damn cool. The fantastic thing about what I do now for a living is a lot of the stuff that I do or that you see me do on social media or whatever, it literally starts with, that would be cool. And then I just kind of do it, right? So maybe you'll see me with a Central Asian Shepherd walking off leash and doing all sorts of fun stuff. Flag America says, is it a good idea to end my training with a few minutes of play? Yeah, absolutely. Damien says, when are you headed to Florida? You really plan to leave Gage and Chico at home in the miserable Canadian winter? Yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir, I do. I absolutely plan on leaving them in Canada this time. I'm not going to make the mistake of taking them and training them. They're both 6+ years old, right? And it's easy to kind of burn a dog out that has that much training miles on it and is at that age. So I have to actually be very careful to kind of build them, but not in a way that flattens them out for this upcoming year. Josephine says, hello. Thank you for the good information. Greeting from Germany. Greetings to you. Let's see. My dog Marley asserts dominance to my leg. How do I stop this behavior? That's from Landon Jennings. Um, I assume you mean he humps your leg. Well, you would correct him, Landon. You would say, Marley, you must not hump my leg. It makes me very uncomfortable, and I don't like that. No, you got to correct your dog and utilize some structure in the house. Again, if you have my book or you take the Elite Off Leash Obedience course, you know what I'm talking about. But you have to train yourself a strong place command. Have the dog hold a place command in the house. He doesn't need to be wandering around the house humping people, or raising his leg on furniture and all the various stuff that dogs like that like to do sometimes. And you need to also stimulate the dog appropriately. Hans says, when are you going back to Europe to scout new dogs? Hope you find a worthy Rottweiler soon. It's funny. I was actually considering a Rottweiler. I said, maybe I should build a Rottweiler. It's been a while. The last Rottweiler I had was many years ago. We actually bought and sold a couple of them through the protection program. And I said, it's been a long time since I built a Rottweiler. Maybe I should do a Rottweiler. So that's also maybe on the docket. Or maybe I go back to the Pressa. I don't know. I like Pressas. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Pressa. A good Pressa, it's hard to beat, when it comes to let's say the cool factor. He bites you in the leg, well, then my friend, you definitely need to correct him for that behavior. It sounds like your dog's just out of control. So what do you want me to tell you, Landon? Roll up a newspaper and whack him upside the head when he bites you? No, you need to train your dog, my friend. Your dog is out of control. There's no like, oh, this is the answer to your problem. No, the answer to your problem is fully training your dog, creating structure in the house and out of the house, and then having the ability to correct him when he does things that you don't like, such as biting your leg. Luan Vu says, perhaps competing in CKC obedience with an off-breed. Luan, I'm not ready to retire yet. That's not something at all that would interest me. Christina Jordan says, pause. We thought we had the real deal with our young working line German Shepherd, but after implementing your training system, we now have a dog that's under control but still has psycho personality. Well, happy he's under control. Villa Candle says, hey, Has from New Zealand, what age is best to start prong collar training? Our GSD puppy is 4 months old. It's not about an age. It's about when you are there in the journey, right? Like when you are there in the training journey. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand is they view it as, okay, like there's this magical age. I'm going to slap this device on the dog and everything's going to be better. And that's not the way it works. Everything that you do in training is part of a progression, right? You lay the foundation and then you build on that foundation. Puppy training is no different. Training an adult dog is no different. Behavior modification is no different, right? So at some point in that progression, if it makes sense in the plan that you're following, adding a prong collar might make sense, or adding an e-collar might make sense. But that doesn't come at a magical age where it's like, oh, he's at 4 months, prong collar, right? So that's my advice to you. So I just realized that in Instagram, I do not get access to the hmm. I guess my Instagram stream is not particularly good. That's what people are telling me. So sorry to the people on Instagram. This is my first time trying StreamYard, and I'm not seeing any of your comments unless I actually go over to Instagram. So Fixion says, if a dog is guarding in the defensive state in IGP protection, can this be changed? Or is it inherent to the dog? Yeah, absolutely it can be changed. Absolutely. Um, the problem is that people believe, so in IGP, there's a lot of people that are still very much stuck in the past, and they take advice from people that have no real success, especially in any kind of recent time. And they believe that dogs should be in like this state of frothing aggression in the blind. And in many cases, they take dogs that do not have that, that natural aggression, right? They're not naturally defensive dogs. They don't carry a lot of defense or reactive aggression. And they force them into that mindset with like things like table work and, you know, other artificial things to try and force the dog to exhibit this kind of like aggressive behavior. But what they don't realize is this is all forced, right? The dog isn't naturally offering this behavior. The dog doesn't want to offer this behavior. So they force this defensive, reactive behavior, and it creates a very reactive dog in the blind that looks maybe fantastic in training when there's a line and an e-collar and the decoys giving him all this feedback and presence and using the whip and all that stuff. But the second he goes into trial with a passive decoy, the dog, you know, falls apart and just either goes half dead in the blind or in many cases even will leave the blind, right? Letty says, I have original Presa Canario tested in Sweden. He is going by my side off leash in central Stockholm, no problem. But he work. I don't want to be the one. Good. Fantastic. Yeah, I did a Presas a while ago. Like I said, they're cool dogs. Um, what else do we have here? The white orangutan says, you prefer dogs with no off switch. Hardcore Dutchies like Mace have that. So why don't you consider Dutchies for yourself? Who told you that? I don't prefer dogs with no off switch. If we're talking about a sport dog, and to be very clear, I'm not speaking about sport dogs, right? Like I have plenty of sport dogs. I don't really need to start another sport dog. I'm speaking about just starting a dog to start a dog and building that dog out, whether it's a protection dog or just a really well trained, companion dog that is an interesting breed. I don't need to like take some like husky or something and try to do IGP with it. That's not what I'm talking about. That wouldn't be particularly interesting to me. But Dutchies, no, I don't actually particularly like Dutchies, just because they're very predictably, let's say, the good ones are very predictably not particularly nice dogs to handle, in my opinion. Right? It's like, yeah, I've done it with dogs like Mace and whatever else, but it's not something that I personally, would want to do all the time on a regular basis. I don't think I would find that particularly enjoyable. Yeah. So just to be clear, when I speak about doing something with an off breed, um, I am not speaking about uh, doing like dog sport. I'm speaking about just like normal, like life stuff, just training the dog. Maximum, maybe I'll do protection work with the dog, but yeah. Daniel says, "What is the best alternative to the e-collar if e-collar is illegal? And is prong collar necessary? I've never seen you use one in your videos." Yeah, prong collar is like the way you think about the prong collar. For me, it's like training wheels, right? It's a nice kind of like intermediate step. And in some cases, I will use like I never really use a prong collar so much on my sport dogs except on the track. Um, if the e-collar is illegal, well, I'm going to tell you this: all the people that do dog sport in Europe, in a serious way, use e-collar. They hide it, but they use it. So if we're talking about optimal performance, yeah, you're going to need to use one. Now, if you're talking about okay, like I just kind of want to do normal training with my dog and I can't use an e-collar, well, I'd say number one, the most important thing is raise the dog as a puppy, because when you raise the dog as a puppy, you can train the training that you put into the dog is so much more powerful than if you take a young adult dog and then you're training the dog, and it'll be much more effective. So if you're not able to use an e-collar, then a I would start a puppy and I would raise it and train it using obviously a system of lines, a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of play to create like maximal engagement. Um, and then I would use like lines and maybe a pinch collar or lines and a choke chain to create the reliability at distance and off leash. Huh, Lenny's talking some nonsense. Get a good mark instead of a prong and an e-collar. All you got to do is click, click, or say yes. That will definitely replace negative reinforcement. That's positive reinforcement. So I am live on everything, my friend. Yeah, that's positive reinforcement. And definitely, as I mentioned, the more positive reinforcement you're able to implement, and it's easier with puppies, right? Because you bring them up in that system, you can create tons of engagement and drive and motivation. But there must be some negative reinforcement present to create the obligation and the reliability. And for that, you must use some lines, which you can fade later. Okay, let's see here. Let me go back to the StreamYard live stream. Is it too late to teach a 2-year-old to track? No, it's not. Can you build a husky? Well, I mean, we've trained many huskies, so it's not particularly. Again, it wouldn't be particularly like a challenge or strange or difficult. Like we used to get huskies. I don't know what happened. Maybe the fad kind of petered out. But there was a time when we would have like 2 huskies in the kennel at all times. Now we still get them in, but not nearly with the same regularity that we used to get them in. Damien says, just so you know, my S litter male is an absolutely amazing German Shepherd. He is very active in the work and needs to, oh, no convincing to activate. He is fair and honest, but he is definitely full power. I enjoy the sport and protection bundle right now, and I'll send you a 20-second clip to the elite contest. Yeah, guys, everybody that's in the elite course, fantastic news. We have a new contest that's running. So it's going to be a freestyle, the elite course. Anyone who's in the elite members group. So if you have one of my online courses and you're in the elite members group, there is a contest going right now. It ends December 14th. And it's a freestyle contest, 20-second clip, shot vertical. And whoever has the best one wins, right? So it's basically freestyle. Put whatever you think you need to put in there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. A lot of the time, the people in the elite members group come up with some pretty gnarly stuff when it comes to dogs that they've trained with our system. So I'm looking forward to seeing those videos. And of course, the winner gets the prize. What is my favorite leash type material when training a dog? I don't really care. Like, as long as it's not flexible, I'm fine. Bihan says, in your tracking course, you mentioned about laying food into footsteps leading to the scent pad, but you forgot to explain that. Can you elaborate? I'm not sure what you're talking about specifically. So I'm sorry, I cannot elaborate. I would say follow the course from start to finish because I've met a few people that have come to me for training that have run the course and their dogs are actually really fantastic trackers. And for learning online, I was very, very impressed with the progress that they've made. The Virgo Trader says, I have a Husky Shepherd mix and we got him from the SPCA where he was a resource guarder, set for death for sure. Educated myself on real training, such as your content. The work was worth it. And okay, fantastic. Damien's very happy with the S-litter puppy. That's good. Hit the like button, folks. Thank you, Lori. Hans Nicole says, you said you won't develop Hammer as your personal dog because he's not a live wire. Was Wasabi closer to being a live wire? Yes, she was. And yes, she is. Yes, she is. Going to get a working German Shepherd puppy. Do you think he can live easily with a male border collie? A bit insecure and fearful with males, but intact as a PPD? It's possible if you raise them right. And also, it depends on the character of your dog. Like, for instance, Gage is a dog that I can, keep another male with. It's not going to be a problem as long as that dog doesn't attack him. We're not going to have any problems. So whereas Chico is not a dog I could keep another male with, not with any level of safety. It would require way too much diligence on my part, much more than I would be willing to put in. And, the potential downside, if they got after it with each other would be very severe. So, it's one of those things, right? You have to kind of take it dog by dog. Is it too late to teach a 2-year-old to track? No, definitely not. ASMR Metal Man says, ever had a dog that was so aroused the moment they leave the house that pre-bonking? Uh-oh. Well, guys, it looks like we lost the Facebook stream because there was a problem. I'm going to just see if I can open that Facebook stream. There we go. We'll see if the Facebook stream can reconnect. Make full power beagles great again. We've trained quite a few beagles. Again, like they're cool dogs, but it's something that would be super interesting for me. I want something really interesting. So, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot this comment here. Ever have a dog that was so aroused the moment they leave the house that pre-bonking bounces off of them like a Terminator taking a bullet? Not really. But I mean, if you've done it properly, it shouldn't be bouncing off of them. I don't care what dog it is. Anytime I hear, oh, this doesn't work, almost in all cases, they're just not doing it the right way. You'd think bonking would be a very simple thing, but a lot of people actually really just don't do it the right way. There is no age that I introduce the e-collar. That is not the way it works. Custom Canine says he's definitely not getting a Roddy. I don't know. Why not? Why not? It might be a fun build. Blake Gibson says, Salam, 4-month-old, Walaikum Salam, 4-month-old working line German Shepherd. I have a 2-year-old Husky Shepherd, both males. The older is super aggressive towards him for no reason. The pup could walk by him and he snaps at him. No warning. Yeah, man, you're going to have to regulate that situation because when your puppy gets older, that's going to turn into some serious problems. So for me, I don't allow one dog to bully the other. And if you're not willing to lay down the law, that situation is going to deteriorate very quickly. Jess Vol says S litter is full power, can confirm female is intense in all her behaviors. Fantastic. I'm glad you like it. I think that litter was Yarrow and Swamp. So knowing those puppies, I know what you guys are talking about. Damien Prasad says, when do you think this woke liberal government will start banning ownership of powerful dog breeds, specifically breeds used for protection? They are already coming for legally obtained firearms and also turning land back to the First Nations in BC. Some owners are caught up in it, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, our government in Canada appears to be a complete dumpster fire currently. One wonders how much longer it can continue, but I always like to look at the United Kingdom as kind of like the bellwether of where we're going. And it turns out, based on, what's happened in the United Kingdom and what's continuing to happen there, that we can go a lot further, it turns out, into dumpster fire world. So I would not be at all surprised if they start banning certain breeds of dogs, so on and so forth. But I think right now they're still working on banning various social media posts so that we can join our brethren in the UK going to jail for offensive Facebook posts. And just so you guys know, if we're going to jail for offensive Facebook posts, yours truly is going to be doing some time. For a family dog, that will be a lot with the kids, female German Shepherd working line or show line, because most show line are easier to handle, more calm. Not sure what this is. That a question, a comment, a statement? Not sure. What is my experience with the Akita? They're cool looking dogs. They're particular, like, we've trained, like, again, quite a few of them. They tend to be very like muley, I say. Like they're not particularly willing dogs into training. You can certainly get them trained, but again, they're not a dog that that's kind of on my radar as something that I want to build right now. Rudy Boucher says the legend Guy Bertrand. If you know, you know, Rudy, and a lot of people don't know. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. The internet quality on this stream is not particularly good. Have I seen a strong dog that's sensitive to the e-collar? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Have I ever thought of competing with a powerful female dog and make it to Worlds? I mean, if the right one comes along, sure. Tyler says 2-year-old mutt trained off leash, reliable, but has environmental scaredness, especially at night. Teaching how to bark on command and get him active has helped a little. Any tips? Yeah, when the dog is fearful, use your training and push the dog through the fear, right? Yeah, I'm fearful. I want to run away. Yeah, I'm fearful. I want to hide. Keep going, move forward. Give the dog productive things to do instead of allowing them to succumb to the fear and the behaviors that are a symptom of the fear. Christina Jordan says, for the contest, do we she's referring to the contest for members of my online training. Do we upload to the closed group or email the video, or both? You upload to the closed group and you email me a link to the video on Google Drive. The Virgo Trader says, been seeing your recent videos with bitch fights. Had a light bulb moment with that info. It makes so much sense. Same in the human world at times too. He's speaking about when I let that wasn't recent, that was a long time ago. But when I would let a whole bunch of females out together and stop them from fighting with each other. So literal bitch fights, female dog, Do we have anything else here? How do you lay down the law without overdoing it or underdoing it? Well, I would say, listen, when we speak about this kind of stuff, how do you lay down the law? You mean how do we correct the dog without overdoing it? I would say that the vast majority of people underdo it because they're so afraid of overdoing it that they underdo it. Dogs are really, really physically tough, in case you haven't noticed. Like, have you ever seen like dogs get in a dog fight? Like they're full on biting each other and they'll walk away with like, like a little scrape on the head. And you're like, bro, if that was me, like I'd be going to the hospital, right? Like they are very, very physically tough, like a lot physically, more physically tough than you are. Now I say that, but you got to use your brain, right? If you're dealing with like an 8-week-old puppy, obviously, just like when you're dealing with a human child, you need to, provide due care and consideration to that. If you're dealing with like, a 20-pound, little whippet or something versus a 20-pound Frenchie, those are two very different dogs with very differing levels of hardness. So I would say that it's kind of hard to answer your question on a live, but the vast majority of people don't go far enough, and all they do is they just kind of henpeck the dog, so to speak, and accomplish absolutely nothing. Because what you're speaking about is, okay, like let's say your dog, I don't know, he's fighting with your other dog, right? He's getting after it with your other dog, and you're saying no, and you're trying to stop the dog, and you're correcting them. Maybe you swatted someone on the nose or whatever, but they keep getting back after it, right? That's a common issue. I see it a lot, right? That is a fantastic example of people just not let's say laying down the law enough, right? Half-assing it. I see it all the time too with canine handlers, with sport dog handlers, where their dog is consistently exhibiting bratty behaviors, biting them, nipping them, all this type of stuff. And they're just kind of nagging the dog with the tools enough to make the dog stop in the moment, but not actually create any real inhibition towards that behavior, right? There's a time when you say, okay, this behavior is completely unacceptable and it needs to be extinguished. In that case, I always say blitz the behavior. Blitz, right? Blitzkrieg, land, sea, and air attack. It was so overwhelming, right? It was like the signature move that the Germans did in World War II. It was such an overwhelming thing that it caused the other side to capitulate, in a very short period of time. Back in the day, it would take a lot longer usually for conventional warfare to accomplish like a victory. But this method that the Germans were utilizing, the Blitz, right? They created overwhelming success almost immediately. It was the same thing now with punishment. If you do punishment the right way, you blitz the behavior, right? You suppress the behavior immediately, and you create real inhibition towards the dog performing the behavior again. Devin, $5. Well, thanks, Devin. Appreciate that, buddy. Buy myself a coffee. How do you select a good local breeder? Um, how do you select them? Like, I mean, it would depend on really what you're looking for. I always say, determine what you're looking for, and then what you're looking for, whether it's a sport dog, a companion dog, whatever, find the people that are producing what you're looking for. So you say, okay, like I want to do, I don't know, IGP, okay, with my dog. People are like, but where should I get a puppy? I'm like, this is a really simple thing. All you have to do is look at like your national championship, or look at your world team members, and just say, okay, what are the kennels that these dogs are coming from? And I guarantee you, if you go through that list of dogs, you're going to start to find kennel names that pop up over and over and over again. Those would be relatively safe bets to go for, right? For that specific thing. Apply it the other way. Like I want a really cool, I don't know, Central Asian Shepherd, right? I want a Central Asian Shepherd because I saw this Central Asian Shepherd on YouTube and I thought it was really cool and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what do you like about the Central Asian Shepherd? Well, I like the size of the dog. Okay, great. I also like dogs with big heads. Okay, great. I also want the dog to be healthy. All right. So now you have three criterias: big dog, big head, healthy. Okay. Oh, and I also want the dog to be able to actually like be fierce and courageous and, will protect my property, so on and so forth. Okay. So now we have a fourth criteria. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go online. I'm going to be like, all right, Central Asian Shepherd breeders. Okay. Let me find them. Okay. Let me look them all up. All right. Let me look at this one. Okay. They have puppies. I don't even read what they write on the website. Let me go look at the parents. I'm going to look at the parents. Okay, this one has actually small heads. This one, they're kind of smaller dogs, not particularly interested. This one, I mean, they look physically what I'm looking for, but I can see that the character is not what I want, right? And I'll just go until I find one that I don't read a single thing on the website. I literally look and I see, what the parents look like. If there's a pedigree posted, I try and find some of the dogs in the pedigree, see what the puppies and the previous puppies grew up to be like, so on and so forth. And that's how you select a breeder. You put in a little bit of time and effort for the dog that you're going to be keeping, for 10 to 15 years. Devin says, what are your favorite things about the Rottweiler? And what things do you not like about the Rottweiler breed as far as training? My favorite thing about the Rottweiler is for sure their dominance. Like a male Rottweiler is one of the most, like a good male Rottweiler. Of course, I must always say this, and as an aside, when we speak about this, the Doberman people seem to be very confused. I said in that famous, now famous little clip, when I was speaking about the Dobermans, where I was like, okay, if me and a couple of other trainers are sitting around and someone brings out a Doberman to work the dog, we always joke, oh man, if he's good, he's not going to live very long, right? Because it's a common thing. Like we see a lot of really nice working Doberman, unfortunately pass away between 3 and 5 years of age. It's a very common thing. It's not something that you're like, oh, wow, like that's amazing. Like it's something that you hear about all the time, contrary to what everybody on Facebook says. But I said, if he's good, and all these people are chiming, oh, my dog lived till he was 14. I said, if he's good, we're speaking about good quality working Doberman. I know you didn't have one, so stop it. But anyways, back to the Rottweiler. What are my favorite things? A strong male Rottweiler, the dominance those dogs have in the work, the presence those dogs have in the work, it's second to none. The level of intensity that they bring is fantastic. I really, really like to see it. Now, unfortunately, it's not so common. A lot of the time, the Rottweiler, especially once they start to be a little bit more under control, and they have to use their brain a little bit, I find that a lot of the time they start to run out of gas quite a bit. They don't have a very good endurance, and I find that they tend to struggle a little bit with the gas tank in terms of like, okay, we've been out here for a little bit and we're working. You start to see them kind of go down like this. The other thing with the Rottweiler too is they're not prey dogs. Yeah, you get Rottweilers that have good prey, but they're not dogs that fundamentally have high prey. So you see a lot of people doing bite sport with them. But the problem with bite sport is you need a dog that has like really, really high prey, especially for bite sports like PSA and stuff like this, right? And the Rottweiler is a dog that requires a little emotion in the bite work. They do their best work when they're a little bit angry, right? And that's not particularly productive when it comes to dog sport. So I would say those are some of the things. And then, of course, it's always hard to find a good Rottweiler. A lot of them have nerve issues. There's some health issues, and then, of course, there's always drive issues with these dogs. So it's hard to find like really the perfect Rottweiler. Any idea when you're going to breed with Yarrow next? Very soon. I think we have a couple litters. We haven't announced them yet, but they're on the way. What is my honest opinion about the dog that won the WUSV? It's ironic. So we were sitting down watching the trial practice at the beginning of the WSV, and Team Sweden came up and we were watching the dogs. And my buddy, Ann Lee, he goes, oh man, like this is a fantastic female, blah, 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 blah. And for sure, like I could see she was like a good trained female, but I said, this is not like a top tier female in terms of like drives and commitment, stuff like this. You could just see it, like, she was like really well trained, but like I would like, we were literally teasing him in the stands because he was like, man, like this bitch is so good, blah, 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 blah. And we were like, and this is, we weren't saying it's a crap female, but we were saying like, she's nothing special, blah, blah, blah. You like these half-ass dogs, blah, 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 blah. And we were teasing him. I swear to you, we were teasing him. And he was like, man, she finished top 10 last year, blah. And he was going on and on, right? But we were like, because we were comparing her to some other females that we had seen gone up for trial practice. And listen, when you've been in this game for a while, you're able to quickly recognize like when a dog, has a superior genetic talent and quality, right? And there were other females that were quite simply more extreme, more drive, more commitment, more everything, right? But I could see for sure that the training was excellent, like excellent training. So that's my honest opinion of the dog. Excellent training. Obviously, there's enough dog there to win the championship, but it's not like a Nitra. Okay, so Nitra vom Eisernen Kreuz, right, was an extreme female. When you watch videos of Nitra work, when you watch videos of Nitra compete, there's no question in your mind that this is a special female that you want puppies from. This other female, I wouldn't care to take a puppy from her, and that's the honest truth. And I have nothing against the handler or anything like that, but that's just my perception. Maybe other people disagree. All right, guys. Who am I breeding Yarrow with? I don't know. We have to look. Like I said, I'm doing this breeding thing with Ann now. He knows the name of the females. I have to go and see the females. But we're expecting 2 litters very shortly. 1 litter I'm not going to announce yet because the male, I want to see that the puppies are born and that they're healthy first, but the male is a very special male. And then the other litter is with Yarrow. Luan Vu says, Mr. Anley's father is a big name in horse racing betting. He knows the good odd. Yes, he does. Flag America says, who's the better trainer, you or Ann Lee? Ha ha. Well, he would say him and I would say me. And I guess we'll find out. Okay, guys. I think, let's see if anyone on the Instagram had anything cool to say. No, they didn't. All right. Okay, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.